All right, and we're back once again with the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald coming right back at you here. Cannot thank you enough for listening. And I'll tell you what, this is something I've been wanting to go ahead and talk about for quite some time. Although I'm not going to do very much of the talking. I'm just going to be more of a listen and learn and hopefully come better understand what's going on as far as pop culture, but from a Black influence side because it is Black History Month. And it's something that I want to know more about always. I want to know about all these different cultural influences in our society and how they affect pop culture, both from a past, present, and future standpoint. And I've got two great guys here on today to come out as my guests. And, you've heard them many times on our show before, but you could never hear them enough. They're great guys from the Voice from the Underground. They do have to deal with Jason Dutch, though. That is part of the problem right there. But it's still an outstanding show indeed. It is Voice from the Underground, the podcast. He's going to kill me next time he's on the air with me. Voice from the Underground, the podcast. You got to check it out today on all major podcast platforms. First off, it's Big Haas. And Haas, I just cannot thank you enough for being here.
Oh, no problem, man. Honored to be here. Man. How you doing?
It's good. And it's my honor to have you on the show, especially so you can not only, help us, myself, but also everyone out there that wants to learn and understand more about the influences and everything going on within the Black culture for pop culture. And, it's just going to be a great conversation. I'm looking so forward to it. But you also cannot have another great show like this without my good friend as well. He's also from Voice from the Underground, but he also tag teams with me on the Lakers Fast Break.
Pause.
Dramatic pause.
Why are you pausing? It's nothing.
Tag team, dude.
Tag team.
Yeah.
There you go. Tag him in.
God,
it is TJ Johnson, man. TJ, just again, always a pleasure having you on. You know it, man.
Big G, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. It's actually here in Vegas. Been raining for once. Got to see some rainbows out here, so a little bit better for us. We're always worried about if it gets too dry out here. But enough of my talk. I want to hear from you guys first, especially your backgrounds. Going back to even when you were much younger. I have my influences when I grew up. You come home from school, the cartoons, the Saturday morning TV, everything from pro wrestling to cartoons and movies and televisions that I saw and comic books and things that I saw when I was growing up that helped influence and shape the way I was today in pop culture and how I see things. But I want to hear from your guys' standpoint because this is, again, and I appreciate you guys allowing me on. I mean, we talked about this and I wanted to turn the show entirely over to you, but you guys were so gracious in allowing me to go ahead and spend some time with you on this. Haas, I'll start with you first. Your background as far as what you want to talk about and what influences you had early on that helped shape your love for pop culture.
Well, I think that for me, it was my family. We loved watching TV shows. We loved music. We loved movies. I mean, growing up in the Stevenson Collins household, it was not rare at all to have a Saturday where we pop down to the local video store and literally buy 12 movies. And Saturday morning, we go out and buy 12 movies and we watch movies into the early hours of the next Sunday morning, 2-3 o'clock in the morning. We're watching movies. We go to sleep. We wake up again. We have breakfast, and then we start it all over again at 12 o'clock, and we watch the rest of those movies for the rest. So, as far as pop culture is concerned, music, movies, TV shows, fashion, comics.
What type of, what shows really just you connected with, or movies or fashion, just anything in particular?
And that again was very eclectic. Now, like, let me tell you something. Of course we watched The Cosby Show and Good Times and The Jeffersons, but we also watched Dynasty and Falcon Crest and One Life to Live and General Hospital. So, my grandmother we'd be watching Dynasty and she's like, okay, this is how you need to dress. Look at Blake Carrington. That's how you want to dress. And she'd tell my daughters, my sisters, look at how Diane Carroll is dressed in this show, and on Falcon Crest, same thing. She'd be pointing out the best dressed, and when we watched the Cosby Show, we talked about education, the importance of school, and the importance of family, and the lessons. It was always a running, review of everything. And we would watch Fat Albert. And when we talk about comics and black superheroes, one of the first black superheroes that I knew and related to and looked up to was the Brown Hornet from Fat Albert. The Brown Hornet, and then Power Man, who was, Luke Cage, were my two favorite heroes coming up. So that's kind of how my background got started.
Well, I'll tell you what, especially when it comes to Fat Albert, that was something I absolutely loved when I was a kid as well. I mean, that was something, Bill Cosby, I understand his current issues aside and things he's done aside.
Yeah.
Let's put it in perspective of that show and how it, like you, I was a big fan of that show as well, as far as not only from just the fact that it was just a good show, created great narratives, great storylines, and you wanted to follow what the kids were doing each and every week when you were watching it.
Right.
TJ, how about you, my friend? What were some of the influences for you when you were younger, and how that helped shape your love for pop culture?
Oh my goodness. I don't know if we have enough time for the things that I was into.
We can always make a part two.
We might need to make a part 7, 8, 9, and 10. I obviously I'm a little bit younger than you guys, so let's go ahead and just get the elephant out the room. There are some shows that you guys have mentioned that I don't know crap about. I don't know nothing about any of the shows some of the shows that Haas mentioned, but I did grow up on Cosby's. I did grow up on Family Matters and The Fresh Prince, and so that started my love and Good Times. I did watch quite a bit of Good Times and Living Single. That was my jam. Martin, stuff like that. That was all my jam. That was my forte. In Living Color. Things like
love
that.
Living Color.
I'm trying to tell you, man, it's one of the best shows people didn't talk about. But
it was criminally underrated at that point in time because of and again, it goes back to what we're talking about with the Cosby Show. Doesn't matter, to me, it emulated just quality television as far as from a comedic standpoint, because the cast you saw there, you just saw the brilliance of all those individuals. And at that time, they were faring much more from a quality standpoint than what SNL was doing at that point in time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And they were also not as well known. I mean, got to look at Keenen Ivory Wayans. It was one of the ones that originated to putting his family on. He didn't just put on one. He put his whole squad on. Right. Damon, what's the
Damon, Marlon, Sean.
What's the sister?
Kim,
thank you, Kim Wayans. All of them. He put his whole squad on. That's kind of the beginning.
And not only were they all talented,
that's what I'm saying.
and not only were they all talented, but he was able to locate other talent as well. Obviously, Jim Carrey comes to mind, but there were so many other individuals mixed in there. Even when it comes down to the Paula Abdul J-Lo factor, with their contributions to the show as well. He was able to see these things. Keenen Ivory Wayans, I'm talking about, was able to see, as far as from a producer standpoint, all these different great personalities from all these different backgrounds that were able to contribute to this awesome show.
Absolutely. And I know what all the ones that I mentioned before look like I only watch black television, but actually,
hold
on. But I need to be able to paint my palette. I need to be able to explain my palette. So it goes further than that. I actually grew up, believe it or not, off Nick at Night. So your Dobie Gillis's,
Dobie Gillis was the joint.
Your F Troops, your I Dream of. Well, I guess that was more of a Fox, or I Dream of Jeannie.
What about Gomer Pyle?
Gomer Pyle. Anything that was on syndication with Nick at Night, Get Smart, all that stuff.
I used to love Get Smart too. Yeah,
I used to love Get Smart. I like the idea of going into the telephone booth and you went down, and now you're in headquarters.
I didn't even talk about Inspector Gadget, Mask, G.I. Joe.
I haven't got to the cartoons yet.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, man. So if we're talking about our cartoons, I'm taking it back to He-Man. I'm taking it back to Thundercats. I'm taking it back to She-Ra. I'm taking it back to Jem. I was into Jem too. I thought Jem was awesome.
Jem and the Holograms.
Yeah, man. I still remember that theme song, bro. I'm not gonna sing it, but point is,
Battlestar Galactica.
Star Trek, The Next Generation, like all of that, bro.
The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine.
Deep Space Nine, yep. Stargate.
Hey, I was up on
Legendary Journeys.
Yeah, I was up on I was up on the first Star Trek, so that's how old I am.
Yeah, I mean,
see, you said Deep Space Nine. I'm like, man, I'm talking about Jim.
We're not talking about. We know
I'm
that
not old enough myself for the first original run.
Damn it, Jim! I'm a doctor.
but I am old enough to when it first started in reruns. So I will say I'm with Haas on that one on Star Trek. But yes, you're right. When it comes to all the different things from Gem and the Holograms, Star Trek: The Next Generation, then evolved into Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise. Just these great influences you have. And when you saw what was going on screen, TJ, was that something that got you going and saying, hey, I can go and like these things from all these different backgrounds, and that helps define who I am as a person?
Well, I guess it depends. Are you asking the TJ that was watching it, or are you asking TJ now? Because TJ was watching it, I had no clue. I just was watching TV, so I didn't look at it as a white TV versus black TV. I didn't look at it as
just TV.
It was just TV to me. I mean, I was the one that was confused. I thought there were two Michael Jacksons. So I was, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I didn't have that concept in regards to, I'm watching Martin, I'm watching black television. These are people that look like me. I just looked at it
just
like,
yo, I'm
just watching Martin Lawrence. Yeah. I didn't look at it like black and white at that point. So now, you fast forward to
the benefit of age. Yeah.
Yeah. With the benefit of age. And you fast forward now as a 35-year-old man, that type of stuff. I appreciate the fact that I wasn't just strictly watching this. I was able to have expand my palette, if you will, and be able to watch things like Dobie Gillis, things like, you know what I mean? Like I appreciate that because quiet as kept, I learned a little bit of game from Dobie Gillis. Dobie Gillis was quite a ladies' man back in the 60s, 70s. So I learned that. Happy Days. I learned how to be cool like the Fonz. Like
the Fonz,
it is what it is, man. You take bits and pieces of different characters that you see, and you try to not necessarily incorporate them into you, but take certain aspects of their personality and say, that's pretty cool. I wonder if I can do that. Or I wonder if I can do that. I wonder if I can do that. So obviously at some point you become whomever you're going to be, but I appreciate not being relegated to just the black shows, or not being relegated to just cartoons, or not being relegated to just, things that people feel like the world will paint me out as to something I should watch. I didn't just watch Eddie Murphy Raw. I mean, I did watch it, but that wasn't all that I ever watched. I didn't just watch Chris Tucker or Martin Lawrence. So, it was eclectic. I watched Gary Owens,
Gary Owens is great, man.
I like Sinbad, Sinbad Borderline. He riding between both of them. I don't know, but
he's still playing today. He's still here in Vegas recently. Yeah. So
Sinbad was?
Yes.
Look out. A high yellow self. Go ahead, Sinbad.
Vegas gets everybody.
Right? One of the good hair crew.
Yeah,
if you're 90 and you still have a pulse and you still have a name, you can play somewhere in Vegas. That's all that's for. But
absolutely, man.
That's just great to hear. I mean, from both of you, that it wasn't just drawing from one area, that you guys were just watching, like you said, programs and listening to music and enjoying things in your life just because they were so appealing to you, no matter what type of background it is. And that's great to hear how that later on in life that you guys have been able to go ahead and reflect on that, how that helped you guys. Like, for instance, on your show, Voice from the Underground, you're able to go ahead and draw back on those memories that you have from that age when you were watching so much television, listening to music and things of that nature, and draw those good memories from it. So that's awesome to hear that. Now we get into a point where I want to talk to you guys about what's coming up now, or what is apparent now, as far as from a black cultural standpoint, because it is something that is very prominent now in pop culture about how is it represented and what do we, what needs to be done going forward. But I'll start from a present standpoint, let's say since the turn of the century, since the 2000s came about. So I ask you, Haas, as you got older, as you became more Big Haas, for instance, how has the what was it like in that shape as far as maybe the late 90s, early 2000s, going into that as far as you became more aware of what was going on, and your taste may have fluctuated in one way or another, veered one way or another, and how that shaped your, I guess your imprint on what you think as far as pop culture is concerned?
I think that you just, for me, I just became, as I got older, I think the first thing for me was looking back at older cartoons that I used to love and realizing like, hey, this is kind of
risque.
This is kind of racist.
Yeah.
When you look back at some of the old Tom and Jerry cartoons where they had the
blackface, the old lady,
the old lady
red lips.
All you saw was her legs and the way she talked. And looking back at some of the Bugs Bunny cartoons and things like that, you're just like, ooh, okay. You know what I mean? So you just find yourself, you still enjoy it, and it's almost like you compartmentalize and you accept the time for what it was, and that way you can still find enjoyment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But as
you understand that was done in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. That couldn't be made today in a serious format.
And that's what you find is you find yourself, you're able to put it in the time capsule that it was in, and so that you can still derive enjoyment from it. But then as you're looking at present day things, you're looking at those things through a more critical lens, because now the times have changed and people should know better. So when you see those things now, it's like, hey, the 40s and 50s and 60s is one thing, but this is 2017, this is 2018, this is 2005, this is 2006. We shouldn't be having these types of themes still being projected throughout our cartoons and into our children, because that's the thing, is that you're kind of indoctrinating those kids. I'm 6, 7, 8, 9 years old watching Tom and Jerry. You know what I mean? I'm 6, 7, 8, 9 years old watching Looney Tunes, watching Mickey Mouse, watching those things, and it's like you don't know it, but there's little bits of pieces of prejudice being dropped into your brain right there. You know what I mean? Against yourself even. So you kind of you look at things at your contemporary art and contemporary media and contemporary pop culture through a different lens now. I hope that answered the question.
I did, exactly. And like you said, even as we shifted from the 80s, 90s into a new century,
right?
When you're talking about all the shows and movies that were out in those times, and you saw the changing way we deal with our culture and the more appropriate ways in which to put something out there in pop culture, as opposed to what was done. You go back, and as an adult, you realize, hey, this may have been okay for the time, but you understand it stays in that time, in that context, but don't try to go ahead and put it in today's marketplace, because it's not going to have the same effect, other than being, it's not just haha entertainment, I'm going to laugh it off. It's something that, this could be adversely affecting to a certain segment of the population or
right.
So, TJ, I mean, you wish to concur, or your memories from that, as you got older and you understood that, hey, maybe this earlier stuff wasn't as hunky dory as, as it could be now in today's pop culture, in today's society.
Oh, well, I think that pretty much goes without saying. I mean, you have to learn how to evolve with the times, and television is no different. Television has learned to evolve. Television has learned to kind of be more progressive and not as, there are certain things that you got away with in the 60s, 70s that you are not even going to come close to getting away with now in the 2020s.
Right.
So it wouldn't even, you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things. It's a gimme. Of course, like for instance, even looking at a show as recent as a Family Guy, there are certain jokes that at the beginning of Family Guy, when it first came out in the mid, I don't know, 2010, whatever, things that you said in 2010, you're not saying those.
Not say that now.
You can't do certain things now. You can't, the way that they would objectify women in this show. You're not doing that now. So So it's the very nature of it. And I think when we go back and look at these Disney shows and Disney movies and cartoons from Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies and all that stuff, we have to take that into that perspective and that scope of saying, okay, this is what entertainment was like back in the 70s. This is what entertainment was like back in the 80s. And you could do things where you could be the hunk that tries to save the girl, and the girl would just be, oh, thank you, you're so strong, or whatever, whatever rudimentary thing it was.
Right.
And that's just the time that this show was made in. That's the period that the show was made in. That's what was acceptable. That was what was sociable. Now, not so much. The girls are going to want to try to save themselves. The girls are going to want to try to take care of themselves. So it's a natural progression. It's a natural evolution of the entertainment medium, and it's expected. So yes, looking back at certain shows, as Big Haas mentioned, Merry Melodies, certain Disney cartoons, and even what's funny is that you go back and you watch Disney Plus now, and they'll tell you, hey, before you put this on, this was made in a different time.
This was racist.
So yeah, essentially, it's gonna let you know right now before you put this on that this
you're gonna see some stuff,
risque stuff in it. So be prepared, because that's what the entertainment was. But what I appreciate, if you will, about that is they're not hiding it. They're not acting like it didn't happen. Oh, I never made that. No. We did.
We did.
That.
Yeah.
I think Song of the South, though, I think is the one that always gets pointed to.
Yeah.
Because, you even see remnants of it when you go to Disneyland or Disney World and you go on Splash Mountain, and you see it as you're going, and your kids don't understand where these characters came from, and they don't tell you what movie it's from. And you don't really, you try to, and I'm going to be honest with you, I try to dance around that issue, although my kids are Disney savvy enough to know now what I couldn't tell them 5 years ago as you go on that ride, exactly where these characters are from, and what it emanated from is from something that Disney is very, it's probably the one thing that they're most ashamed of now that is part of their company.
Yeah, and they have every right to be ashamed of, but I don't know. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't know if I would necessarily say ashamed.
But they maybe use it as a tool to educate now.
Well, it's a tool to educate, but it also shows growth. I'm not the same person I was at 13, 14, 15 years old. So Disney,
and we're not the same company that we were back then.
Exactly. So, okay, this is part of our history. This is part of our culture. There's no denying it. That doesn't mean that I'm defined by who I was. I can define who I am today. But I'm not going to pretend like it didn't happen. I'm not going to act like, oh, that was never there. No. It was there. We had some things that were a little back in the day, but you can see our progression. You can see how we've grown from those experiences. You can see how we've grown from those entertainment shows or those movies. We're not the same company, So I think I can appreciate watching the growth. I can appreciate them not running away from it and saying, yep, that was us. Here we are now. Here's how we changed.
Right. Because, there's a saying that I like when we talk about growth. It's like, don't judge me by my past, because that's not my address anymore. It's like, hey, I don't live there anymore. I'm not that guy from college. I'm not that guy from just after college. I'm not that guy from 10 years after college. So it's that's just, I think a lot of times, especially like with this cancel culture, when we're talking about, people digging up tweets and posts and stuff from 10, 15 years ago. You don't know what that dude has learned in those last 10 to 15 years.
Absolutely.
Or that person has learned.
You have. Wisdom is not something you just have right away.
Right.
You earn that. That's that. You earn that through experiences.
That's why they call experiences. That's why they call it the wisdom of years.
Yes, absolutely. And you look at somebody like a James Gunn in that same situation.
Yeah.
Obviously, and I appreciate that while Disney, had a very knee-jerk reaction, oh, you're fired, they came back and said, okay, all right, everybody breathe,
let's breathe, let's take a breath,
let's come back to this. I think that was more of a ceremonious thing, like we got to do something. So look, I'm gonna fire you, but just
you know,
just be cool.
Let's take a breath and lay low.
Yeah, just be cool. Almost like the David Stern Michael Jordan thing when he was got gambling. Hey,
Yeah.
you got to go away for a little
Go
bit.
sit down for a while.
Yeah,
dude.
go play some baseball or something. You got to go away from the sport. You
Go play with some sticks. Go play with some sticks or something.
That was never substantiated, of course. I'm just I'm just I'm just thinking.
Run
I'm just
around.
putting it out there.
He was still getting paid his bull salary.
Yeah, man.
So
Chicago Barons. But anyways, we
kind of making some chunk of change from Nike as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Little taste.
Michael's making that money.
Yeah, as Eddie Murphy would say, now we have $300 million and $30.
But it's funny, Oz, when you said that, it makes me think of that. You look at your car windshield. Your windshield is huge.
Yeah.
Your rear view mirror is very small because you're not supposed to be worried about that.
I told somebody that the other day.
Yeah, you can't be worried about that rear view mirror.
She's going through a tough time, and she just went through a breakup.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And we're talking, and she's just trying to rehash. How could she do this? How could she do that? I'm like, listen, girl, the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror. And she's like, what? And I'm like, the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror. There's greater things that lie ahead for you than whatever you've been through in the past. And what you got to do is you got to put her in the rearview mirror and keep looking out that windshield. You know what I mean?
But if you spend too much time looking in that rear view mirror, you're gonna miss something.
You're gonna miss something. You're gonna run into something.
Yeah, I'm just saying, man. These life lessons we give you on Pop Culture Cosmos.
I'm telling you,
that's what we doing. We're dropping jewels, baby.
Dropping jewels up in this piece. You better have your damn bucket.
There you go. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm learning a lot as we're listening right now. Exactly. That's very well said. I cannot thank you enough, guys, for just passing on this great stuff going on right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos. But I will ask you, we talked about as we're getting into this century and the influences in pop culture and whatnot. One of the things I did want to talk about, especially with the cancel culture that we have right now, is maybe something that came out in 2008. One of the things that's come out recently that they've talked about now that it's gone past its 10th anniversary, and that is Tropic Thunder and Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. And primarily, that's something that he had just finished Iron Man. He'd gotten such great acclaim. He got his mojo back as a big-time star.
My mojo, baby.
And exactly. And your thoughts on if something like that then could happen now in today's environment and go over in the same fashion, because that was such a big hit then. People were willing to go ahead, like we were talking about earlier, and say, haha, I'm taking it for what it was,
right,
and enjoying it, and it was a massive hit because of it. Well, would that happen now?
If I could jump in on that first,
you got it, bro.
Because we just talked about that on the Voice from the Underground podcast. I think that was the last week or the week before. But what we were talking about was the filmmakers were very, very smart, because what they did was they dealt with that in the movie, if you recall, because the truly black character in the movie kept calling Robert Downey Jr.'s character out when he would overstep his bounds. He was like, hey, man, listen, this is, what this is, and you know what you're doing. And he would call him out. So it was one of those things where they inserted that into the movie, but they inserted the solution right in there with it. Like, hey, we're going to put this in here. And we know it's a touchy subject. We know that blackface is a touchy subject. So what we're going to do is, in order to get it in there, we're going to deal with it in certain ways in the movie. So that just made it more palatable. Because if he was just in the movie as a white dude pretending to be a black dude for a movie, then, and like there was no mention of it or no handling of that taboo or insensitivity, then I think it would have been even bigger. I think that certain people who did not recognize the nuance that they put in there by the other black character calling him out multiple times in the movie. It was multiple instances where the black character was like, hey, and put him in check pretty much. You know what I'm saying? And I think that made it more of a palatable thing for people that might be insulted by like people of color like myself. TJ, what do you think?
I think that's the same song from the Jeffersons. No, I completely agree. And I think what was really, really poignant, if you will, if I can use that word. That's my word
poignant.
of the day. That's
Scrabble.
my word of the day. Yep, Scrabble. Triple letter score right there. But they made sure they made fun. They poked fun at everybody. It wasn't just a black thing. It wasn't just a white thing. They pointed fun at everybody. The white actors who get coked out, and
Ben Stiller's character when he went to the movies. He played the autistic character.
He played the autistic character. He played the stupid superhero the hero that keeps getting sequels and keep having to do the same thing again. Like, they poked fun at everybody. So I didn't take it the way that a lot of people would. Now, again, that movie can't come out in 2020.
That's what I wanted to know. Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
You don't think that?
I don't.
You think
I don't think that. I think it's just because people are too loud. Social media has turned into what it's turned into, and because again, social media even back in 2008 was not where it is now. I think we had MySpace. We might have had Twitter.
Facebook was just getting underway, really.
Yeah, Facebook was a brand new thing. Social media wasn't what it is now. Buzz wasn't what it was. It wasn't what it is now. I don't see it happening. I think people are going to be too scared to touch something like that, personally. And I don't know if I necessarily disagree with them. I think that some people are just shown to be really, really sensitive. And as of late, I think that we just have this culture where everybody's just extremely sensitive. And I don't know if they're sensitive because they feel like they're not being heard, so they're going to be loud about everything, or if they're truly sensitive about certain things. Like, for instance, Tropic Thunder wouldn't bother me in 2020.
No.
It wouldn't bother me at all in 2020. However, I'm not one easily offended. I'm not one that's going to be just, oh my God, I can't believe you said, like it's not that deep to me. Like, it's just not. So I'm not easily offended by that type of stuff. However, we seem to be in this day and age where it's the norm to be offended. Everything that gets said is somebody's offended by it, and be it right or wrong, you can't tell anybody how to feel. So I think that in this climate, this climate that we're in now, the social climate that we're in, I don't see that movie getting made.
And I think that to piggyback on that, you can't tell people how to feel and what opinions to have, but you can still challenge them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Still, and you're having your right to have an opinion. You open yourself up for criticism of your stance, how you're feeling, or your opinion when you publicize it. So if you are going to go,
what you think about Dwayne Wade? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying.
We ain't gotta go there.
We could go there.
We ain't gotta go there.
I just think that when you publicize your opinion, when you publicize your feelings, when you publicize your stance,
you open yourself up.
You open yourself up for criticism. Yeah, so you can't say, "Oh, I think da 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 da." And when somebody says, "Well, why do you think that?" Because I don't think that. I think that this. Can you expound on why you feel that way? You can't respond and say, "That's just how I feel," and that's it. No. Right. You open you should be willing and able to defend your position. You know what I mean? And if you can't, maybe you need to rethink that position. Sometimes people, they want to put their feeling out there and they don't have anything salient to back it up. It's just how they feel. So then when they're challenged, they just don't tell me how to feel. I'm not telling you how to feel. I'm encouraging you to explore why you feel that way.
Exactly. I'm just trying to understand why. It's not a challenge,
right?
It's an explain.
Right.
So this is an opportunity for you to expound on that particular take.
Right. And sometimes on social media, somebody will put something up, and that will be my exact response. I'll comment and I'll say, "Can you please expound?"
Yeah.
And they'll say, "What do you mean?" Tell me, why do you feel that way?
For you. Let me define it for you.
Tell me why you feel that way. Expound. Tell me what is the basis for that feeling or basis for that opinion.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "That's just how I feel."
But that's an emotional response.
That means, that's an emotional response, and oftentimes that person's coming from a place of ignorance.
Exactly. They're just saying something because they've heard it somewhere. Mm-hmm. Can you tell we've done this before, Gerald?
I can tell you.
Does it sound like we're familiar?
Exactly. I mean, I've been on your guys' show a couple of times now, and it's just this banter that you guys have back and forth is always great to hear. Let me ask you this: would the same thing go for a movie? And before we go ahead into the future and whatnot, I just want to touch on one more movie that I think was very, out there, and people have these opinions about how they perceive it now in today's pop culture, and that is Blazing Saddles.
Amazing, amazing movie.
Yeah, I remember.
Would it be something that you could make now? Even let's say a Quentin Tarantino who has pushed those limits.
Man, you can't.
I think this is what I think about Blazing Saddles. It may not be able to be made now, but it should be able to be made now because it's still in so many ways such a relevant movie. A lot of those things that they touched on in that movie all those years ago
still
relative today. There's
I think that's
conversations
exactly
that need to be had today.
I think that's exactly why you don't need to remake it. You don't have to. So there are certain times.
It's just saying what TJ. I think though it's saying if it wasn't made back then, could it be made now in today's climate?
All right.
Yeah. I think it could be made, but it would be it would be way more controversial than it was back then.
Yeah,
would you fear it be toned down? Would you fear it be toned down and the message would not be coming across as loud and as clear as it did back then?
I can say that. I could think that. I think that the censors, and when I say this, the movie industry and whoever was doing the ratings and everything for that movie back then, they were courageous because they knew what was going on in that movie.
They could have slapped an AO on it.
Yeah, they could have easily made that a blue movie. You know what I'm saying? But they let it go through. So I think that now, where we have people that are so scared of being sued and so scared of being social media crucified, I think they would probably take a lot of the teeth out of that movie,
which would not make it the same movie.
Nope.
Yeah, I agree.
So I just don't see it happening now. One, I think so. The thing that makes Blazing Saddles what it is the fact that it was made when it was, right? If you were to try to take Blazing Saddles and make it now, it's not going to have the same cultural impact because we're not in that same period. Now, That's not to say that racism is not still alive. Obviously, that's not the case. However, that's not the period. It was that was a period where racism was alive, but people didn't want to talk about it. It was very hush hush. It was very, oh no, it's not true. We've moved past it, blah, 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 blah. So it was very hush hush. Nowadays, this is not hush hush. So Blazing Saddles, in all honesty, while it's funny, it's no different than a Queen and Slim. It's no different than what's the movie with Daniel
Kaluuya?
Yeah, what's the not Us, but the one that was before that.
Oh, Get Out?
Oh, Get Out. Thank you. It's not Get Out. It's not any of those films. And while those films again touched on a lot of the same issues that Blazing Saddles touched on, as far as just the differences and highlighting what's different about African Americans to whites or whatever the case may be, it's not going to have the same cultural impact. So you bring Blazing Saddles out now, it's just not going to hit the same. But if you'd have put Get Out in the 70s or in the 60s when Blazing Saddles came out,
it'd been crazy.
Bruh.
It'd have been crazy. It'd been crazy.
Think about that, man. If you'd have put Get Out or Us or any or Queen and Slim out back then when Blazing Saddles was out, oh nah, bro.
They'd be like, all right, we had one of these movies already. So
you only get one per century, bro. Like y'all got to go. Y'all can't stay here. Y'all got the GO go. We ain't
Speaking of that, I watched the whole little docu-series of They've Gotta Have Us on Netflix.
They've Gotta Have Us.
Yes, it's on Netflix. It is a retrospective and a kind of a chronology of the advancement of blacks in film, both in front of and behind the camera, since the days of Gone with the Wind when Hattie McDaniel won.
Well, I mean, clearly that's what 45 wants to be winning now.
Yeah.
Parasite. So I mean, can we get Gone with the Wind back? Can we get that back?
Can we get that back? And can we get an order of immigrants from Norway? Need a 6-piece immigrants from Norway.
Oh, that guy. Sorry, I'm sorry. We're getting very Voice from the Underground on this show right now. This is
know, and that's what happens when you got Voice from the Underground.
We're very tangentially challenged.
Oh, goodness gracious.
45 and Parasite and all that. I mean, Parasite's an outstanding film, and if you can't appreciate it for what it is, if you don't want to read it for subtitles, and I know that's a stumbling block for many people, including 45.
It's clearly a stumbling block for him.
If you don't see it, then you shouldn't comment about it. But it is an outstanding film. I have seen it twice.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna read it later. Sometime this week, I'm gonna read that movie.
I love
but you know something? I grew up on kung fu movies. I grew up on lots of movies that had subtitles. So I don't have a problem reading subtitles, and I don't feel that my Americanism is being threatened because I'm watching a movie with subtitles.
I don't feel like my Americanism is threatened because I'm enjoying a movie with subtitles.
I have seen it with and without subtitles, and it is so much better with subtitles. It helps clarify things so much more. And it's probably the best movie that I have seen with subtitles since I would probably want to say Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon,
which was phenomenal.
Yes, and The Raid Redemption. That was also an excellent
Raid Redemption was good.
I have not seen that.
Raid Redemption was good.
The Rave Redemption?
No, The Raid.
Raid Redemption.
Yeah.
R-A-D-E.
Sequel to The Raid.
If you
R-A-D-E?
R-A-I-D.
R-A-I-D. Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to see a quintessential kung fu movie, that's it right there.
Yeah.
If you only could see one, and I'm sorry to all respect to one of my favorites of all time, Bruce Lee, if you want to see one kung fu movie, that's it. The innovation in that movie is just outstanding.
Oh, absolutely. Now, if we're being sentimental,
I love kung fu movies too.
If we're being sentimental, then my favorite subtitle film since 45 doesn't seem to like them is this 1997 Italian comedy drama. It's called Life is Beautiful.
Yeah, there you go. Won the Academy
I haven't
Award.
seen that.
Oh, brother, that'll get you in the feels. That'll get you. It's essentially about a Holocaust survivor who has of his family. Obviously, they've got put into Holocaust concentration camps, and he's spending the entire time convincing his child that they're just away at camp, and he's trying to hide. He's hiding the horrors, but I mean, it's a comedy. He's hiding the horrors. He's hiding the horrors of the Holocaust. I'm telling you, brother. And then what? Yeah, man, it gets me right in the feels every time.
Yeah, I couldn't watch
but
that.
It is my absolute. It is my favorite subtitled film. By far.
That's like 12 Years a Slave. I still haven't watched all of that.
I can't. I won't watch that.
And you know what? In the They've Got to Have Us docuseries, they do a segment on Amistad. And I was sitting here with my son, and I'm telling Camden how I was watching this with his mom, and I had to stop the movie like 3 times to cry. You know?
Yeah.
And they were going through it, and I was kind of hoping they wouldn't put this scene in there, but of course they did. Where Jimon Honsu is yelling, "Give us free." I broke down there on the couch.
Yeah, of course.
Broke down again right there. And he's with the pain, man. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Just give us free.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, man.
Woo!
One of the things that I was, I have to admit that I was excited that I didn't have to do. I didn't have to have these talks with a little black boy because I didn't have a son. I had a girl.
Yeah.
So I was not excited because I feel like I'm one of the originators, the original girl dad. I was a girl dad before it was a thing with Kobe, but
right.
I was breathing a sigh of relief to a degree because I didn't have to have those conversations.
Yeah.
I didn't have to talk to him about, son, this is what happens when you get stopped by the police.
Right.
Put your hand into, I don't want to have
walking
to
around even.
Yeah.
My son can't even drive yet. And he's 12 and I had that talk with him.
Yeah. So there were things that I was looking forward to not having to do that now that I have a son on the way, now it changed the game. I have to put myself back in that.
Peyton's 8 years older than Camden, so she's 20. So I didn't have that issue either until Camden came along. And
it's like,
then you start thinking about it.
Switch it up.
You start thinking about, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to. We've had some conversations over the last few months where I didn't have those conversations with Peyton. So
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you.
I know you said you won't see 12 Years a Slave, and obviously I can understand why. But that was an Academy Award winner. And I will say rightfully so because it's an outstanding movie, but it also stars one of my favorite actors and one of the best actors out there today.
Oh,
Chiwetel Ejiofor. I can never say his name.
Ejiofor.
Okay, yeah, just amazing actor.
He's a great actor. He's a great actor.
Yes, he
is. In Serenity, he is
Serenity.
the best
Yes.
villain
Yes.
ever.
Yes.
Ever.
No,
he was great in
best,
Serenity. He's not the best villain ever, but he was great in that movie.
Okay, he's in my top 3. I mean, you can say Michael B. Jordan in Black Panther. You could say other great villains that are out there from all Darth Vader. You can go like he's in that. You got to put him in there as
you call Darth Vader a black villain.
Well, no, I'm not saying
Darth Vader is a black villain.
No, just a villain.
James Earl Jones.
I'm just saying a villain. Villain period.
Huh?
Villain period.
James Earl Jones played Darth Vader.
No, he was just the voice of Darth Vader. It was
right.
I mean,
I'm talking about. I can talk about from any background. Villain.
Luke Skywalker's light-skinned it.
Yeah, I'm talking about from a villainous standpoint. Period. He was just truly announced. I mean, whether you want to go for me, Robert Redford in Winter Soldier. There are other great villains that are out there.
Javier Bardem and
exactly.
No Country for Old Men. No Country for Old Men. He was
exactly. He was scary.
Or No Country for Old Men. Both of them.
Yeah. So I mean, there's so many great actors that have played such great villainous roles. I mean, Heath Ledger in as the Joker.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. But I'll tell you what, his performance in Serenity was truly one of the best villainous turns I've ever seen.
He was great. He was great in that movie.
The calm way he approached.
Right.
And
that's he approached it was like business. It was just this is just business. I was like, I hate him.
But you
really hate this dude
because that approach had not been really done before. And you always had to have I'm twerking my mustache, laughing,
Well, something I've started watching this show called Mr. Robot. And there's a villain in that movie, in that TV show I don't like him. He makes me sick. I don't hate him the way I hate Tariq from Power.
Oh, don't get me started on that little.
I hate Tariq.
Oh my goodness.
I'm almost suburban white woman slapping the soap opera character in the street for breaking up with him. You know what I mean? If I saw the dude that plays Tariq in the street, I might slap him upside the head.
Michael Rainey will get worked.
He would have to get this work.
He was going.
I'm sorry. I'm like, why are you so dumb, dude?
Yeah, you gonna shoot him? Really? You gonna shoot? Go? Oh, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. That was a spoiler alert. My bad.
No worries.
My bad. But
I haven't seen it yet, but I knew who it was.
Everybody knew. But what I was saying about Chiwetel is that his best villainous role was Victor Sweets, man. Y'all better act.
Oh, yes, and Four Brothers.
Yes. Y'all better put some respect on Victor. I asked for out-of-town shooters.
Just a truly brilliant actor.
In-town shooters give me in-town problems.
He told that girl, get down there and eat that.
Have a meal with her man. Oh,
get down there and have a meal with your man.
Have a meal with your man.
Crazy.
I'm like, this mug is crazy.
He's so
crazy. Oh my god!
I'm sorry.
I might have to watch that movie and just
I just want to watch that scene. I want to watch that scene. I don't even want to watch the whole movie. The rest of the movies, whatever. I just want to watch his scenes again. Everything he did in that movie
was crazy.
He stole the show.
Yeah.
He stole the show.
He does it in almost virtually. He does it in virtually every movie he
steals the show. He steals his scenes in almost every movie.
He's getting very Denzel-like. That's something that Denzel does. No matter what he's in, no matter where he's at.
He was in that movie with Denzel, Inside Man.
Oh, yeah, I know. But that's my point. Everything that he's doing, he's getting to be very
Denzelish. He's getting Denzel-esque.
Starting to, hey man.
I wanted to go on with talking about Mahershala Ali and other ones, but you mentioned Denzel for just a second. His influence in pop culture with all the the movies that he's done, and he's such a great actor even to this day. You see his son is going to be performing, doing. Not only is he starting to get his own name, but I see him at the point where he could become a huge star in this industry.
Yeah.
At Tenet, his next major outing, it looks like something that's really going to get a lot of people interested in. But do you think Dad will let him slide into his slot easily as far as a big box office name? Because I don't see it.
Let me tell you, I got a funny story about him. So my wife and I were watching Ballers, right? We were watching Ballers.
Okay.
And we had never really watched it before, so we were watching it. And this guy's talking. I think my eyes were closed. I was looking away, and somebody's on screen talking. I said, where's Denzel? I don't know Denzel was on this show. He sounds just like it. His enunciation, the way he the breath in between his words, like everything was like a young Denzel. Like he had that same, and I said, that's Denzel's son. And my wife was like, no, it's not. You know, nothing like this. I said, I guarantee you that's
Denzel.
I guarantee. So of course, you know, watch it on Amazon. You can go back and look at the discography and all that stuff. And yep, sure enough, I said, boom, I told you that's Denzel's son. She's like, got to be more careful. Anyways, I'm sorry. I digress.
Oh, no. I mean, because you can see that influence is there. And he's on the verge of being a humongous star, just like his dad. Yeah. And his dad, you know, in these days in the industry, and this is something Josh and I have talked about, where there's a lack of young stars in Hollywood, and we're still recycling over and over the same 40 and over stars. In fact, who's leading the box office this weekend? Harrison Ford. Just to give you an idea of what's going on.
I told my wife about that movie because she's like, that movie's gonna go plastic. I said, no, it's not. I said, it's an old white dude, it's a damn dog, and they're in the wilderness. White people are gonna flock to this movie. You just watch.
Gerald, have you seen this movie?
No, I've not seen this movie. But
Gerald is like, I'm not admitting that shit now.
No, IG and some other places, it's getting mediocre reviews, but it's not even a real dog. It's a CGI dog. So that's
dude, they don't care.
Yeah,
it's the wilderness. It's the wilderness in wintertime. An old white man and a dog. That's the white people try. That's the white triple play right there.
Where's Lassie when you need her?
There you go.
I need a border collie. That's what
Lassie,
I need.
What? Oh, Hannah's in trouble. What? Really?
Would have been like Cujo, man. Would have been Cujo.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Shout out to the TV dogs.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, before we head on out on this great show, and I just cannot thank you guys again for being a part of it, I want to ask this on the future and where we should be going as far as integrating fully the Black cultural experience with the pop culture experience and making it one, because in essence, it should be one that we're deriving all this from. Right. Not only back then, but now, but going forward. I mean, we've proven already, we've broken so many different barriers within the past few years. Black Panther has done, nobody can tell me now that this type of movie cannot do well. Right. This type of movie cannot do well. With a woman, with African Americans, with Asians. You cannot tell me that anybody from any background cannot have a movie or a TV show or property or a streaming thing or something out there that cannot do well, because Black Panther was really, for me, the big exclamation point on saying you are dead wrong.
And here's the thing: is that's another reason why that docuseries is so relevant, because what's his name? Jesse Williams. They interviewed him, and he was talking about how there had been this myth or this assertion that Black movies or diverse movies don't travel well and don't sell. And he was talking about how a university had done a study, and they showed that the more diverse a movie is, the more money it makes, period. The more diverse a movie is, the more money it makes, and the more money it makes across the globe, period.
Well, one thing I want to say first off is the Madea movies. The Madea movies have never been pushed internationally. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at their numbers, virtually every single dollar is domestically here in the U.S. only.
Yeah.
I think that was a mistake.
Yes.
But you also see the apprehension in Hollywood when, for the most part, in trying to push that type of movie out to a broader worldwide audience.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get that. And I'll just say this. You need to watch that docuseries on Netflix. It's really good. It touches on a bunch of subjects, and you get a lot of insights that you might not have picked up on.
TJ, I mean, do you concur with that? I mean, is that something, because like I said, for the most part, like Haas was saying, the more diverse, the better it usually should end up being. Mm-hmm. I mean, now we're finally coming to that realization, but you still see instances, as I mentioned with Madea. Now, Madea may not be the best example of it, but to me, it's something that Tyler Perry made a living off it here in the United States. He did a great amount of business in it. And you just see, when I see the numbers as far as it's concerned, I see a missed opportunity there. But it points to me a lot of apprehension from the movie industry about what they want to go ahead and represent worldwide.
Well, so
It's a difficult question. I can understand that.
Question for one, because I'm not a Tyler Perry fan. I gotta be honest with you.
But you love that Tyler Perry episode of Boondocks, though, didn't you?
I did like that episode of Boondocks. Yes,
and he's great himself when he's doing a drama. I've seen him in other performances himself doing something outside the Madea character.
Yeah, I like Tyler Perry when he's not doing anything Tyler Perry-ish. So I don't want him producing a movie. I don't want him being Madea. If he can do something where he's just like, for instance, I liked him when he had his little cameo in Star Trek. I like that.
Absolutely.
I like his little, he tried to be Aaron Cross. I didn't really like that too much, but I
it was okay though. It was okay.
He was terrible, but I appreciate him trying. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. He was
his performance in Dick
was bad. No, I didn't see him in that one. I didn't see him in Dick.
He plays. He did a great job in that movie. I think his movie was one of those scene-stealing performances because you were surprised that Tyler Perry was okay. Oh, they're putting Tyler Perry in here, and you wonder because you see him as Madea, you wonder if he can go ahead and has that kind of range, and he does. When he gets those opportunities, I think for the most part, he takes advantage of them.
Well, so I think when we go back to the original kind of question here in regards to if we can kind of merge and have it all be one type of entertainment, what we have to remember is that Black culture has been stolen since the beginning. Like this is not so for us to finally be able to just have something for ourselves like a Black Panther, where it's like this is our history, this is our not history, but this is our culture, this is us that we're pouring into this. Is an awesome thing, but make no mistake about it, Black culture is sprinkled throughout this entire industry, throughout this entire entertainment medium. This is not a exclusive thing. I hate to say it, but we've had our style bitten since we've had style. Like anything that we've done it's been bitten and it's been used in another
Paul
format.
Mooney said it best.
Yeah.
He's like, everybody love to be a Black person, but don't nobody want to be a Black person.
Right, absolutely.
People love Black culture, but they don't like Black people.
Exactly. So that's not a new thing. Black appropriation is just what it's always been, and it's not going anywhere. Like you said, everybody wants to have Black culture, but they don't want to be Black, and so they want to be able to have Black swagger, and they want to be able to sing, and they want to be able to dance. I mean, you look at Get Out, they want to be able to do all the things that Black people can do. I mean, and in that movie, they wanted to quote unquote be Black, but they didn't really want to be Black. They just wanted what Black people had.
Yeah, they wanted to have the consciousness.
Yeah,
or the je ne sais quoi. They want that je ne sais quoi, but they don't want that external covering.
Absolutely, even to the point where they always have something to say about African American fathers or African American athletes, or it's always going to be what it is. So. Will we ever get to a point where it's just normal? I don't know. That's the thing. And that's the thing. It's like ever get over being racist. Like I don't know. I don't see it.
And that was in that docuseries as well, saying that Black shouldn't be considered a genre.
Yeah.
It should just be, like if it's a Black horror movie, or I mean, if it's a horror movie featuring Black people, it's a Black horror movie, and they put it in this Black genre. And if it's a superhero movie featuring Black, it's a Black superhero movie.
It should just be.
How come it can't be a superhero movie and it just happens to be a cast of all Blacks or mostly Blacks or mostly people of color, this or that?
Yep.
And it's just one of those things where we need to phase out of this Black as a genre, and that's how we're going to set up our marketing, and that's how we're going to set up our promotions and our advertising. And those things are going to be geared first towards Black people as this powerful Black this, or this this Black that.
But that'll never
saying right.
That'll never stop, because that's how they get the Black dollar. I mean, let's just be all the way 100.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, though, TJ.
But look at it.
If they promote it, if they put out the trailer for Black Panther, whether they call it a Black movie or not, Black people gonna see that trailer and see all them Black people in the movie, right? You don't have to say a tour de force for Blacks. You don't have to say something like that, because it's like, oh shit, look at all these Black people in this movie. It's mostly Black people. I want to go see that. You know what I'm saying?
But
then other people say it's Marvel, so I want to go see it. It's part of the Marvel MCU.
They very well could, but then they also know what they're doing in regards to their marketing, because they know to push it They know to push it on BET. They know to push it as far as the urban radio station. They know to talk about it on those stations. They know they released it in Black in Black History Month. Like,
yeah, I can understand that as a strategy.
It's a strategy to
yes,
but they don't Black dollar.
But they don't have to, put blackity black in the verbiage for the promotion.
They shouldn't have to.
They shouldn't have to. Right. That's what I'm saying.
They shouldn't have to. Absolutely. But they're going to, because that's how they want to get the Black dollar.
But I also remember when, I was talking to you, Haas, and especially you, TJ, how emotional and how happy you guys were.
Absolutely.
That would have achieved the success that it did.
That would have been there no matter what, no matter how it was promoted. You would go. The promotion tactics that they use didn't factor into how I felt about the movie watching it and the impact that it had watching it. Yes, it was great for Black people, but it's one of those things that you didn't have to call it a Black movie for it to have that impact for Black people.
Exactly.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a great conversation with you guys, and seeing where you would like to see, just the influence of where pop culture should go to be all inclusive coming up in the future. And I look forward to hopefully happening. We're seeing it now, but I want to see it even more coming up in the future for our generations beyond, for my daughters, for my granddaughters or grandkids, or if I'm lucky to have them, grandkids and beyond, and for your kids and their kids and beyond as well. I'm hoping for something that, like you guys were talking about, it being just a superhero movie, or being just a horror movie, or being just a streaming show, or being just not having, we get to the point where we can shun all these labels and just see it as good or bad content, and then we go from there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, before we head on out, guys, as far as for recording for the Pop Culture Cosmos, I want to hear thoughts on what you guys are up to at Voice from the Underground, because I've got Big Haas with me. I've got TJ Johnson with me. They're two major parts of Voice from the Underground. And besides just, tolerating Jason Dutch for 2.5 hours, what are you guys up to? And he's going to kill me.
2.5 hours, bro. That's a light recording for Voice from the Underground.
There you go. Exactly.
Right.
What are you guys up to doing when it comes to Voice from the Underground?
TJ, hit him up.
I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head, brother. We try to just survive Jason Dutch. It's not always easy. I tend to fall asleep on these guys a lot because we just record so late, man, and it's so bad because we'll set up a time to record.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, we're gonna record, and then something might pop up and it might get pushed back a little bit, and okay, all right, now, hey, look, we know what happens as the sun comes down. Brother gets sleepy. I got to be up at 2:45 in the morning. So the later we go, the tougher it's gonna be. But the beautiful thing about Voice from the Underground, and one of the things that we were talking about evolving, right? We talked about evolving earlier. When we started out our show, we were a bunch of angry guys about Trump being elected or possibly about to be elected. So I think that was our niche. We were a socio-political show, trying to give a voice to the voiceless, and I think that was even our tagline for a little bit, trying to give a voice to the voiceless.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Big Haas can attest to this too. We've evolved a little bit. We understand that politics is still something that's going to be at core what we talk about a lot of times, but there's so much more to Hassan. There's so much more to Jason.
Right.
So much more to TJ than just politics. There's so much more than just talking about the Black vote, and there's so much more about talking about how it affects Black people, and how there's more to us. We're all fathers. We all have girls. We're all from different walks of life. We all have different ideologies and beliefs. And I think the important thing is that what we do at Voice from the Underground is that we listen. A lot of times we do a lot of talking, but it's usually one or two talking, and then there's somebody listening, and then we all kind of take turns in that regard. But what we like to do is we do like to give a voice to the voices, but we also like to make sure we're having a little bit of fun and evolve our brand to not just be so heavy. We don't always want to be soapboxy heavy.
Right.
Screw the man. Haas is doing big things. He's over there smoking a cigar now. That dude. Let me tell you something before we go. If Haas is not eating or smoking during the podcast, it's not a real podcast.
He had a delicious
not doing it right.
He had a delicious looking piece of chocolate.
Yeah. I still got it. There it is.
If he's not eating and smoking something during the podcast, he's not doing it right. He's not doing it right. But in all seriousness, you know what, man? At Voice from the Underground, we enjoy each other's company, man. I love these guys. I've grown closer to them, and you know what's sad is that we all lived in the same area for a while, and I didn't even really know them. We had all met, but I didn't know them. But I've grown closer to them being further away than I had when we were all right next door to each other. So it's been an awesome experience, man. It's a lot of fun. When I can stay up to do it, I love it. But that's another conversation for another thing. Right there.
Well, if you do want to hear the best in politics, pop culture, sports, cigars, chocolate cake, and so much more, you got to check out Voice from the Underground today, wherever you get your podcasts. Guys, I want to tell you right now, I'm going to keep on the line, keep rolling, because TJ and I are going to be talking some basketball. And Big Hoss, would you like to join us? Like to stay on?
I'm going to watch this Wilder fight.
Okay.
Oh, is it on now? Oh,
if you're not going to watch it, then we'll go. You know what? I'll tell you what. I can just end it now. No big deal.
No. TJ, I know TJ. He's, you want to watch the fight.
Well, I'm sorry.
You going to watch the fight?
TJ ain't going to watch that fight. TJ going to bed.
Man, shut up. I'm up, man. Look, I don't have to work tomorrow.
TJ about to take his teeth out, put them in some water, and go to sleep.
Crazy.
You know what? You look like a Cheshire cat with your white teeth, just laughing at that black background. It's nothing but teeth.
They white though.
Nothing but teeth. Go back to Wonderland.
Right. You guys are crazy.
It's all.
No wonder Jason always has that stressed look on social media.
He always looks stressed out, man. Like, you need to relax, brother.
Even when he's at the gym, he looks stressed out. He should be relaxed.
God, you need an enema.
Getting ready to go in again, and he's got this like stressed out look. I mean, you haven't even hit the weights yet.
Right.
You're supposed to relax after you hit the gym. He be looking more tense. I'm like, God.
Well, I mean, he does have some things going on. So.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. We having fun with him, but he still needs to relax.
Yeah.
Take a dump. It's okay, Jason.
Yeah, just let that go. Download some on the C drive.
Usually, I mean, you're more than welcome to stay on if you want, because I'm going to keep it rolling. So
no, go ahead. I'm gonna jump off because my wife wants to spend some time, and I'm gonna have her come down and watch the fight with me.
Fair enough. Enjoy the weekend, my friend. All the best.
All right, you too. Thanks for having me on.
Always
TJ,
a pleasure.
Be cool, brother. I'm gonna talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. See you tomorrow.
All right, later.
Take care. All right, just you and I, my friend. And all right, let's do it. Well, I'll tell you what. When it comes to the Lakers, there's some things going on. We're coming to that last portion of the season. Things you got to go ahead and tune up before the playoffs. And one of the things that they wanted to go ahead and do was try to fortify the roster. And they made a change, getting Markieff Morris off the waiver wire. He was recently released by Detroit, went through waivers, cleared waivers, and we let go DeMarcus Cousins, who may or may not have been healthy come playoff time. I mean, that's up for debate. He had stated on his on a podcast that he was actually thinking that he was going to be maybe okay, which is never a great sign, because you can never really tell if DeMarcus Cousins was going to be 100% or be able to give you any type of contribution. But I want to hear your thoughts on getting Markieff Morris, player that may have not been the Morris twin that people, Lakers fans, were hoping for, but he's still a decent 6'9", 40% three-point shooter that could give you something off the bench. But was it worth getting rid of DeMarcus Cousins?
I don't know if I'm comfortable with them getting rid of DeMarcus Cousins. Yes, Markieff Morris is decent. He's actually a 35% shooter from deep, 45% field goal percentage for his career. So he's not terrible. But you look at a talent like DeMarcus Cousins, what he's able to do when healthy, and I just don't know, especially for the bargain bin price that we got him for. The amount of money that we spent to get him, which is like $1.8 million, I think, or maybe just under $2 million. Point is, we got him at an extreme discount as far as the Lakers are concerned. So there was very, very little to lose, but tremendous upside to be gained. And I think that in a situation like that, you've got to kind of see that through, man. He's such an awesome talent. When he's healthy, I mean, he was an awesome talent for Golden State when he was healthy. When he was healthy, he was carrying some of those games in the fourth quarter for Golden State. So I think that if I'm the Lakers, I would have held on to that. Obviously, nothing's been finalized. It hasn't been official. They have not officially waived him. So, hoping that maybe something along those lines change. But I gotta tell you, man, I'm a little concerned if I'm Lakers front office, because we didn't make any big splashes. We didn't make any big trades. For better or for worse, we still have Kyle Kuzma. We still have the core Laker team from the beginning of the season intact. Actually, everybody from the beginning of the season we still have on the squad. And yet other teams around us are getting better. The Clippers got substantially better. The Clippers are getting better. And I'm concerned. I gotta, obviously here at the Lakers Fast Break podcast, we're not gonna lie. I'm a little nervous because I feel like who we're gonna end up trying to go get in the free agent market now, the J.R. Smiths of the world, the Markieff Morrises, they're okay, but J.R. Smith hasn't played a NBA basketball game in how long now?
A little over a year now.
The last thing he was known for was gafing in that finals, where he didn't know which basket to shoot at, he didn't know what possession he was at, and to take a shot. And that's our best option. Like, I gotta tell you, man, that's a little bit of a stain to me. That's a little nerve wracking. Again, considering the fact that our crosstown rivals, the Clippers, they're just getting better. And now, granted, obviously, you're looking at injuries to Paul George right now. They're not playing their best basketball. But to be frank, they don't really need to. And they're not looking to be the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed or the 3, 4, 5, 6 seed. They just want to make it to the playoffs. And they're of the mentality that once we make it to the playoffs, we can beat anybody in the 7-game series. So I really don't care if we're at home. I don't care if we're away. We're going to beat any team in a 7-game series. And they've just got this dog mentality to them that I just don't see from the Lakers right now. I'm excited that Anthony Davis is rejuvenated as far as the defensive end. Obviously had a little bit of a scare with his calf injury.
And that seems to be the status quo for him. Get injured at some point early in the game, and then come back and dominate.
And dominated. Yeah, it's the craziest thing. I think he dropped 24 points in the second half, and just was a monster for regards to blocks. But what's concerning to me is just that they just haven't added any additional help. And while I'm excited for the Lakers team that we have, I gotta tell you, man, that's a scary thing, considering the fact that other teams are getting better.
Absolutely, it is a scary thing. You see Houston going all in on the downsizing and getting not one but 2 individuals that they think can help. And then you also have the Clippers with, like you said, getting Reggie Jackson, getting Marcus Morris, the other Morris, the more, vaunted Morris brother right now, who's playing at a much better level overall this season than what Markieff was doing. Yeah, it's just the signs are there that all these other teams were making moves. And I know you and I have discussed this before. I think when it comes to Rob Pelinka, there are those inexperiences. There are those times of inexperience when dealing with certain things. And when it comes to manufacturing trades, when it comes to executing the trades, but also when you hear these rumors of the buyouts and coordinating and all that, I mean, these things are not always done on the up and up. I mean, players talk to each other, and
absolutely,
and agents talk to each other, and agents talk to GMs and all that. And you need to be more part of that conversation and to not understand exactly everything that's going on. And Darren Collinson, I mean, we bet, just like we did before with Kawhi, we were all in on Darren Collinson becoming a Laker. And we were all in on Kawhi becoming a Laker. And unfortunately, that those two situations have somewhat, they mirror each other. The fact that we put so much stock into that we wasted all this time.
Yeah.
And look what happens. You're not able to build the best roster you can because of it.
Yeah, and you could take it even a step further than that. We were all in on Paul George becoming a Laker before Kawhi. So this is it seems to have been an MO for the Lakers. We're linked to these huge players. You know, we're linked to these monumental players, and then all of a sudden something happens where it doesn't come to fruition. The latest I heard that somebody had mentioned Giannis Antetokounmpo would possibly at some point look at becoming a Laker, and you know, obviously I'm not 100% sure that would ever happen, but it's just, you know, when LeBron came over, that was kind of it was a very, very quick, very quiet thing that happened. Like, it was not I knew that the Lakers were a possibility, but I didn't think it was a real possibility. And all of a sudden it kind of just happened. As opposed to being linked to somebody for a long period of time, and then it happened, and then it ended up not happening, like Kawhi, like Paul, like obviously now Collinson. It's just it's frustrating. Yes, it does to me indicate a lack of consistency and a lack of experience in regards to closing these deals. This is the time where you missed the Dr. Bus, who had this way of closing deals where you would pay any kind of money to get Jerry West back in, who had his way of connecting with players and closing these kind of deals. You missed that. And for us to have not only miss out on that type of stuff and then give Rob Pelinka a promotion again, you know, we talked about that a couple months ago, where I need to see this promotion play out. I'm telling you, brother, I don't like it. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of this at all.
Oh, I wasn't a fan either. I mean, I had told not only you, but I had told Laker Tom from Lakerholics.net, who was for signing him in January. And I was like, wait until the end of the season. See where your team performs from there. And he's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. It's not like he was one of the hot GMs listed that, hey, I'm going to go ahead and I can get my job in here. Like Masai Ujiri.
David Griffin. Yeah, David Griffin.
David Griffin, you know, I cannot still believe he was out there as a free agent, you know,
exactly.
After he got kicked out of Cleveland. You see how that worked out for Cleveland.
Yep,
they've done tremendous since then.
Tremendous job.
Yeah, exactly. But Masai Ujiri, he goes out in the open market right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, every team wants him.
Oh, yeah, game on.
Yeah, but with Rob Pelinka, though, you know, the Lakers would just happen to be at the point where they're bidding against themselves, and that to me is quite troubling. I mean, let him finish the season, then you evaluate it from there. You could take a step back. You can see where you're going with your franchise. You can see the future. How well has he done so far? You can see it from that standpoint instead of just hurrying up. Okay, we're leading the Western Conference after the first 40 games. We're going to go ahead. This is really good. We're going to go ahead and give you a big raise and a promotion. You didn't have to do that. There was not any, but there's not any need, any just incessant need to do that right away.
No, absolutely not. And again, let's be frank. LeBron picked the Lakers. It wasn't Rob Pelinka that did it. It wasn't anybody. LeBron had a desire to play for the Lakers, and that's great. That's fine. But let's not go acting like Rob Pelinka pulled off this miracle heist, this miracle thing. Anthony Davis, who happens to be with Clutch Sports, wanted to go play with LeBron. It wasn't Rob Pelinka. You could have had Ray Charles in there, and he would have got that deal done, because that's something that the players wanted to happen.
But an experienced GM might have actually been able to maneuver and keep back more assets, which you could have used at this point in time in the trade deadline.
Exactly, because again, Anthony Davis made it very clear where he wanted to play. This was not a secret. It wasn't a surprise. So when we do things like give Rob Pelinka a promotion for doing things that anybody would have done, this was not special. Nothing Rob Pelinka did was special or was something that nobody else could have done. It wasn't like this is a Rob Pelinka exclusive. Like it wasn't a Woj bomb. Like this was anybody who was GM of the Los Angeles Lakers at this particular time would have pulled this off. So I didn't agree with the Rob Pelinka thing, but obviously, you know, we're splitting hairs and we're crying over spilled milk at this point. The problem is the lack of experience is starting to show in a situation like this, where again we're in the market, we're the trade deadline, and we stand pat, and everybody else around us is getting better. It's just not a good look. I'm still looking at how we're going to get past the Clippers. But even if we get past the Clippers, how do we get past Giannis? How do we get past that Milwaukee Bucks team that's young, that's loaded, and that's hungry? That's hungry right now for a championship. It's going to be interesting. You know, I just don't know if the firepower now in the free agent market is out there.
Well, right now out there, I don't think there is. I mean, if you know, Mo Harkless was somebody that I think was probably the one of the last individuals I thought that could possibly help the Lakers from a wing defensive standpoint. But even he has said, very strangely, but well, actually, no, it's not so strange because he's from New York that he actually, this is a lifelong dream for him. Let's see after a week with playing for the Knicks if that still is that lifelong dream for him. But be that as it may, it looks like he wants to stay in the team at least through the end of the season. So that's something that the Lakers were possibly hoping for, but it hasn't quite materialized. But I agree with you. The lack of activity. I know Tom had said to me as well that he is a big believer in the team chemistry, and you're right. There is a great team chemistry that they have, but you shore up that back line of depth and fill some of those needs. That creates I think, a little bit even more confidence and would instill even more of a great attitude, within the top Lakers that, hey, this organization is trying to do everything that they can to build a championship team now, right now, because their window is right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we're looking at a team like Golden State, who essentially, I mean, Curry is going to be coming back. He's eyeing like a March 1st return. So Curry is going to be coming back soon. Klay Thompson has already been ruled. He's not coming back this season. They are going to be a bottom feeding team for the rest of this season. They're a tanked team for the rest of the season. So now they're going to have a great draft pick. So now next year, you're going to load back up with Curry. You're going to load back up with Thompson. You're going to load back up with Draymond. And you're going to have a great pick. And you're going to have a lottery pick too. They just set themselves up for next year. So yes, our window of opportunity is like 3 months. That's about as big as our window of opportunity is before Golden State comes back to reassert themselves. Steph Curry comes back to reassert himself. And again, Giannis is not going anywhere. Giannis is going to just get better and better. And sooner rather than later, the league is going to be his. So the window of opportunity is rapidly closing. And for us to stand pat at the trade deadline it's a concerning thing to see as a Laker fan.
I think so as well. I think it's something that could be exploited during the course of the playoffs. But then again, your roster or the amount of players that you're going to be running on your regular rotation does get shorted.
Yes, it does.
It does become to the point where AD and LeBron are going to be playing the majority of the minutes. In fact, you will see less of that great center combination we've seen perform so well this season. Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, they will play less minutes because there will be a point in time where they'll be basically strategized by the other team to be so, to play at such a small that you're going to have to play them. You'll basically be playing them off the floor at periods of time more than you are now during the regular season. So the Lakers cannot play as big as I think during the course of the run that they want to. And I think that's going to be something like, especially when you're playing Houston, if they continue to try and play too big, that could get them in a lot of trouble, but they can't play too small, if that makes sense. They can't play as small as Houston, but they can't play really, really big because then it gets them in the long run too. They have to find a happy mix they can go ahead and still dominate with. But that also accounts for, virtually every other team that they match up against is that these teams will try to match up to where they're going to try and succeed from a smaller standpoint, which is going to pull and drive those big players off the floor. And basically you're going to be having to say AD, you're going to be playing the 5 spot a lot more than you did so this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, let's be clear. That was one of the things he was not looking to do. He did not want to spend a lot of time at the 5 spot, but absolutely, you're going to spend a lot of time at the 5 spot. And especially if you're playing a team like Houston, you're going to be able to try to take advantage of that because of the fact that you're a tall, versatile big man who can still come out and guard the perimeter if you need to. They're going to need that, especially going against a small ball team like Houston, who's going to want to put a 6'7", 6'8" center out there on the court to try to spread the offense. This is exactly why a player of Shaq's ilk would not work in this version of NBA basketball. A player of Shaq's ability or lack of ability, if you would, to come out and guard the perimeter, they would eat Shaq alive. You get these wide or these spread 4s, these spread 5s who can go out there and pull up from 17, who can go out there and pull up from 20 and knock down a jumper and actually still dribble and get to the paint. It's not going to work. So yes, Anthony Davis, he's going to spend some time at the 5. He's going to have to get over it because right now that's where we're going to need you. And hopefully with the fact that we're going to short down to a shortened rotation of about 7-8 players throughout this playoffs, there's a real good chance for some good synergy. I just really, really, really hope that our synergy is enough to carry us to a championship, because at this point, that's all we're going to have.
I agree with you on that. It's going to be very tough because of the fact that, matching up against the Clippers 1-12 is not as appealing. I mean, the Lakers are very top heavy. Let's put it just right out there. I mean, with LeBron and AD, they'll match up against anybody. But the question is, once you get through players 3 through 10 on the rotation, where does it line up from there against all these other teams? And that could be the difference in a playoff series. So I understand that greatly. And one of those players in the rotation, when we talk about this, is we've had these issues over the past weeks or whatnot with Rajon Rondo. I mean, he plays great with LeBron at the same time they're on the floor, but it's those minutes when LeBron gets off the floor that the team, statistically and also with the eye test, you can tell the team is in trouble because they give up big leads. They give up, they're more apt to go ahead and not play as functionally as a unit. They're not pretty to watch. They're not cohesive. Their turnovers are just increased quite a bit when you see them on the floor without LeBron, and a lot of that falls on the plate of Rajon Rondo. My question to you is, in recent weeks, unless Rajon Rondo has been really hot, for the most part, there's been those period of times where it gets to the point, it almost seems like in case of emergency, and I said this to Jimmy Simonis, to me, Alex Caruso seems to be like that fire alarm for the Lakers, that you break the glass in case of emergency, and you don't want to play him on a regular rotation, but if it gets to the point where it seems desperate or it seems like you want a boost of something like of some nature, then you play Alex Caruso, and then he delivers, for whatever reason, his hustle, his, whatever his playmaking ability that he has. He's not essentially great at any one thing, because you can see that. It just, whatever he puts together out there on the floor seems to come across and work so well so far this season. And you see that statistically when he's out there, because plus minus, when he comes right down to it, he's just behind LeBron in that stature.
Right.
So I ask you, my friend, when it comes to a playoff scenario, and we always hear about this playoff Rondo, and I'm sure everybody on the, as far as Lakers fans are concerned, are praying that we're going to see this Rajon, this playoff Rondo come back to form once again. But I'm not holding as much stock into that as maybe some other individuals are. But I ask you, with the way we've seen the season so far, and those times when Alex Caruso, or the Caruso as they call him out there, is it time for him to just finally get some consistent minutes and not be that, okay, in case of an emergency, he's our fire alarm? Because it just doesn't make it's not good. It can't continue like this. He's not always going to be able to bail you out if you have him just sitting in the bench all the time, not knowing or not being able to go ahead and get some regular rotation type minutes.
The way that they use Caruso now reminds me a lot of the way that they used Shannon Brown back in the early to mid 2000s, I guess, mid 2000 2010 Lakers, when the way they used Shannon Brown. They brought him off the bench and he gave a lot of instant offense, very electric, a fan favorite in Los Angeles, be able to come in and just give them some type of life off the bench. So I feel like they use Caruso the same way, where I think that keeping him as a spark plug works is because while teams have an opportunity to really scout him, they don't have a huge opportunity to scout him. And my fear is that if you scout him and you really get a game plan for him, you're going to make him ineffective. Very much in the way that Jeremy Lin, when he was going on this incredible tear back in 2000 and whatever with the New York Knicks, once he was scouted and once people started actually game planning for Jeremy Lin, they effectively made him ineffective. So I think that I like the fact that Alex Caruso, unless he's doing things in practice that we're not seeing in games, because truth be told, he's been okay. He's been offense off the bench, but let's be clear, he's not a Lou Williams off the bench. He's not putting up 20, 25 points a game and providing the majority of the offense for the second unit. He's just a great little quick spark plug to plug him in and let him get the crowd going. But then you take him into an away arena and you take away that home court, then you kind of take away that power that he has in regards to getting the crowd hype and getting the crowd going. So I think that you got to be judicious in using him from the standpoint of, unless he's showing you something in practice that we just haven't seen in the games, unless he's showing you this consistency in practice that you haven't seen in the games. I think that you're using him the way that you need to use him for right now. One of the things that I had always admired about Kobe is that he practiced harder than he played the games. That way, when you were playing these games, you were going to be ready. You were going to have everything thrown at you. You'd already know what to expect. When Kobe got you in practice, Kobe would beat you up. I'm talking about physically beat you up. He would mentally beat you up. He would get you game ready. So that way, when you get to a game situation, this is easy. I've done this already. So I'm hoping that that's something, not so much that's going to happen, but that Alex Caruso is ready to be that player that takes that leap. And he's been having these great practices, and now maybe we'll get to see it as a rotation player. But I'm concerned that he's going to be exposed. And right now, I think the magic of Caruso is the fact that he comes in, does what he does, and gets out, if that makes sense.
That makes sense, indeed. And I'm just, like I said, in the big stage which out there, can he perform as that safety valve like he has during the course of the season? Because you're asking someone that, this time last year, he was a two-way player. And he was somebody that couldn't actually be a full-time NBA player, because he was a two-way contract player and didn't get his chance until the last 25, 28 games of the season. Like right about now is when he was able to start getting his chance playing for Luke Walton at that point in time. So, yeah, it's not he doesn't have that established background either. So you wonder, when the lights are brightest, is he going to be able to go ahead and perform as well as he has right now during the course of the regular season? So hopefully playoff Rondo comes back, but just in case he doesn't, Alex Caruso might have to go. The lights may on. The lights may come on, and the Alex Caruso may have to go on instead. But we'll wait and see how that works out. I wanted to ask you, on that note, and you talked about some of the things that we could do in the last week of basically, or essentially, anybody that wanted to be bought out or anybody that's out there on the free agent market already. One name that I was looking up to check his contract status is Jeff Teague, as a backup point guard right now with Atlanta, but who played essentially a lot of minutes for Minnesota earlier this year, who is thought of as a, pretty good journeyman, decent guard from the point standpoint. I think he would be an upgrade, probably one of the few that's left that's out there that could possibly be someone that the Lakers might be interested in, that could help in that scenario. I don't know what your thoughts on Jeff Teague, because, he's someone that's played in the league 10 years. He's been around. He can score for you quite a bit on occasion, but again, he disappears because he's not that, how should I say, he doesn't want the big time spotlight or like some of the other players that are out there, but he's someone that can pop in 10, 15, 20, 30 points on given occasion.
Yeah, I mean, he's not one of those names that really get me going. I mean, his best season, which was in Atlanta, he averaged 16.5 points for the 16.5 points, 43% shooting, which is good. Don't get me wrong. He's going to be an upgrade to Rondo. Let's be clear. But that's not. He needs to have better aspirations than just being an upgrade to Rondo. We need somebody that's looking to be that starting point guard that's going to come in there and immediately make a difference. I don't know if Jeff Teague is that guy. Again, he averaged those points back in 2013 and hasn't come close since. In 2019, he's averaged 7.2 points at 39.4% field goal per shooting. I'm just not convinced he's the guy. But again, anything's going to be better than regular season Rondo. If we get playoff Rondo, it's a different ball game. And we've seen some flashes of playoff Rondo. I know how you feel. You are just so disrespectful when it comes to Rajon Rondo. I just don't understand.
I just look at the numbers. I just look at the numbers, my friend. That's all I'm looking at. I just don't see it, but it's more. See. Here's where I'm gonna get Stephen A on you. See, here's the difference. You have to understand that it's more than just
numbers. You can't just look at a basketball player and look at him purely from a numbers perspective, because while numbers don't lie, they don't tell the whole story. There is more to a player than the numbers that he puts up. There's plays that there's 50-50 plays, there's loose balls, there's other aspects to being an NBA player than just numbers.
And I understand that
people get so hung up on numbers, and it's
and
just
I
not
understand
always...
that, but you give the eye test to him. You see how he plays defense, and you see that he doesn't stick to his man. You see that he doesn't fight through screens. You see that he very quickly relies on other individuals to help him out from a defensive standpoint. I mean, we've talked before on this show how he will not go and fight through those screens and follow his man and basically or essentially leave his man open to go ahead and, it essentially becomes a 4-on-5, or he'll do his famous things where he's gambling on defense. But LeBron likes to do that too. So if LeBron is also trying to, lay off his man and gamble on defense, and you have Rondo doing essentially the same thing, that really gets very dicey for the Lakers from a defensive standpoint. And I think that's where it comes in as far as the biggest detriment to his game, and where his game has really fallen off, is the fact that Rondo from a defensive standpoint has become really hard to watch. From an offensive standpoint, his 3-point shooting comes and goes. I mean, it wasn't like last year where, oh my gosh, we saw him chuck and brick, chuck up there and brick, 3-pointer after 3-pointer. Now it seems to go where he'll get on a roll, and it becomes a very big positive because they're laying off him on the defensive side. But there are other points of time where it's not as pretty a sight to see. But again, from a defensive standpoint, I think that has stayed consistently poor, and that's the issue I have with both, because numbers or not, you could see it in the numbers, but you also see in the eye test that he's really not committing to the defensive side anymore. Maybe it's because of age or whatnot. It's just how something he's not planning to do at this point in time.
Well, I think it's a little bit of everything. I think it's the age. I think it's the also the idea that he's got a bunch of big guys playing behind him, so he can kind of cheat on defense a little bit because he's got a Dwight Howard to back him up. He's got a JaVale McGee who can come out there and back him up. He's got Anthony Davis who can come out there and back him up. He's got LeBron who can come out there and back him up. So when you have such a luxury of big guys in the paint that can come out and defend the wing and still come out and be athletic, it makes it more attractive to go out there and maybe gamble on defense, because you've got backup. It'd be different if there's nobody back there that can recover and can help on the backside and can still guard the paint. But he doesn't. He's got that luxury. So I think because he has that luxury, he tends to do that because he's trying to make something happen. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time, if you will.
I guess you're right on that. We'll have to go with that. But yes, playoff Rondo does need to, basically show up, because if he doesn't, that could be that could be harsh for us here as Lakers fans. And I don't have anything personal against him. Yeah, he played for Boston, for so many years, big deal and all that. I mean, he is a great influence when it comes to him coaching on the sidelines and speaking to the younger players, or speaking with LeBron about how they perceive the floor, because LeBron sees him as a peer on his knowledge and experience of the game. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, just him being out there on the floor is sometimes hard to watch. You got to admit that. And you see the results. You see the results in the late third quarter when LeBron's not in there and he's guiding the show. And, that's the time where Laker fans hold their breath. And I've seen on more than one occasion where the lead gets reduced or the lead gets lost, or you see the plus minus right there. You don't have to look at the numbers. You can see it right there, and you see, okay, who's out on the floor? AD. Okay, AD was just prospering with LeBron on the floor. And mind you, you're not going to get a LeBron to come in as a backup, but someone of LeBron's skill levels backup. But you need just someone to hold the water. You don't need to gain the lead.
Right. Just hold it.
You just hold it. Just hold the lead.
Tread water. Just tread water for us.
Just tread water. I mean, if you got a 10-point lead when LeBron sits, if you got an 8-point lead when he comes back, or a 6-point lead, or something like that, that's fine. You only lost 4 points. There you go, no problem. But when you just within a couple minutes span lose that lead right away, that's what I think really it just makes LeBron's job harder. In fact, a like for instance, last night. I mean, the Lakers lost hugely. They were leading by 25 points in the third quarter.
Right.
And, it should have been to the point where LeBron and AD should have been sitting out the fourth quarter. But unfortunately, things happened. Lost their focus, lost their concentration. LeBron sat down. Boom, that league goes awry. And the Lakers have to work harder than they actually had to get the job done.
Well, it goes back to what we said kind of at the beginning of the show. It's no secret the Lakers are top heavy. And so if you're going to be a top heavy team, you're going to have to do the things that top heavy teams need to do. And that's get out to a very, very aggressive start. That's get out to a very, very big lead. And that's to allow the second unit, that's to allow yourself a chance to get a breath while the second unit comes in and just tries to hold the line as much as possible. But to do that, you've got to be aggressive and go out and get an early lead right from the jump and just hold on as long as you can.
Well, I'll tell you what, my friend, it is going to be something we're going to have to be watching and carefully evaluating and not just looking at the numbers per se. So I agree with you on that. But the eye test is there as well. So we're going to have to be continuing the eye test over the course of the next few games. As you will hear this, or as people hear this, the Boston game will already be, completed and whatnot. So hopefully we'll get a Lakers win there. But it is another big week with a lot of big matchups coming up during the course of the week. Then it gets kind of a little bit easier after that. But your thoughts on what the Lakers need to hone in on during the next portion or this portion of the season as it goes forward? I mean, they've talked about what's going on with the rescheduling of the game that was canceled due to the unfortunate death of Kobe Bryant. That's going to be something we're going to be talking about in early April because they're playing back to back to back then. And that's going to be tough regardless because there have to be some load management there. But right now going forward, at least for the end of this month and early into March, what are you looking forward to seeing from the Los Angeles Lakers?
Just a little bit of consistency. Looking at their schedule, obviously we got Boston coming up tomorrow, but then after that you got New Orleans, you got Golden State, you got Memphis. Obviously we're looking at a potential win in Golden State, a win in New Orleans, even though Brandon Ingram is actually playing some decent basketball, and a win in Memphis. So I'm not as concerned finishing up this month, but where it starts to get a little testy again, we're going to go back up. In March, early March, we're playing the Bucks. We're playing the Clippers. We're playing Houston. We're playing Utah. We're playing Denver. So we've got some trials by fire coming up here. And if I'm the Lakers, we need a win against these teams. We need to win against the Bucks. We need to win desperately against the Clippers. We just need to have one going into the playoffs. Right now we haven't got anything. We lost out to the Morris deal as well. So we lost we lost the 2 games. We lost Morris. We're just losing to the Clippers right now. So we need to win on the 8th against the Clippers. Brooklyn, obviously with Kyrie going out with shoulder injury, another shoulder surgery again. Anyways, we're looking at a win there. Houston playing a small ball. I'm not 100% sure if that's going to be enough to beat the Lakers. But Denver is going to be a tough team. Utah is going to be a tough team. So they've got some trials coming up right now. Yeah, we're going to finish the month strong, but we're only looking at another 3 or 4 games. After that, it's going to be some proving ground time, and we'll be able to really kind of see what the Lakers are made out of. And hopefully we're pleasantly surprised.
Hopefully we will be. I just can't wait for it. It's an exciting time for us right now. I mean, the Lakers are so far doing so well, and they're 5 games up in the Western Conference. I mean, they're right now looks like more and more with each and every day that they're going to be number 1 in the Western Conference, and that's a great sign heading into the playoffs. Whether or not they can sustain it, that's going to be something that we're going to have to look at going forward. And I know you and I will be on hopefully many more times talking about this and talking about the Lakers and what's going on. And just health at this point in time, I think is most paramount. I mean, you can't really do many more tweaks on the roster. Just health. Just stay healthy. That's all I ask for.
Basketball is a game of attrition. And right now, like you said, absolutely. It's about staying healthy and making it to the playoffs as whole as possible. You need to be there as whole as possible with as much synergy as you can muster. That's why if they were going to make any type of moves, they needed to do them sooner rather than later, because again, you want to allow that chemistry to continue to gel, continue to build. They look like they really enjoy each other. So I can appreciate that. I really, really can. But you need more. You need more firepower. And if you're going to introduce more firepower, you want to introduce it early enough to where it's not going to they're going to have opportunity to gel and an opportunity to kind of keep that cohesiveness going, because truth be told, there is something to be said for that.
Absolutely. And let's hope they start integrating in that, Markieff Morris in there as quickly as possible. They can't do it obviously in the Boston game, which everybody's already, knows about by now, but hopefully this week they can start getting him integrated into whatever the Lakers want to do. And I tell you what, I'm still very positive on the outlook for the team. I still think that, in a 7-game series, they're still the team to beat, but I'm more nervous than ever, my friend. Clippers are loaded 1-12. Milwaukee's loaded 1-12. Utah, Denver, Houston is going all out with its basically gamble on exactly, we can win with small ball better than anybody else. And that could be something that could work very well for them or against them. So I'm kind of more even nervous than I was at the beginning of the season or even halfway through, because it's looking more and more like it's going to be a dogfight for the trophy this year.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Well, all right, my friend. It's been great talking to you. Once again, I'm talking to TJ Johnson from Voice from the Underground. You got to check out his podcast where they cover the latest and greatest in news, politics, pop culture, cigars. As we were saying on our Pop Culture Cosmos show, chocolate cake. I mean, they're doing so many great things. TJ, Big Haas, and Jason Dutch, you got to catch them today on Voice from the Underground, the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Well, it's awesome, my friend, to talk to you so much on the Lakers. I'm so glad that you're back on the show. Been trying to get you back on forever because I always appreciate your insight.
Amen.
It's just awesome to hear, because you know what? If I don't hear it, I know you're sleeping.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of being in different time zones, but it makes coordinating some things a little difficult. And even when I do Voice from the Underground, the podcast, these guys record so late, and I have to be up so early. It just makes it very, very difficult. But yes, brother, I'm back. Computer is working. I have a new laptop that is working, and hopefully we have no more of that where it's smooth. So keep prayers up, fingers crossed that it continues to work smoothly. But I'll be back on a little more frequently now.
Well, that's awesome to hear, because the gremlins have stayed away. I was figuring something was me or StreamYard or anything like that, but those gremlins are away. And I'll tell you what, it's just so great to have you here back full time once again, right here on the Lakers Fast Break podcast.